Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video here. This is kind of a redo of episode 2 in the Windows Server series. I'm going to rebuild a domain controller just a bit differently, just kind of clean up that video there. So this is building a domain controller in Hyper-V. The same steps will work if you're just building it on a physical computer. So we'll get there. You know, I'm assuming that you guys can install the OS just fine on that physical device. That physical server, if you're just installing AD directly to a physical machine. If you're in Hyper-V here, let's go ahead and open up Hyper-V on our physical server that we're gonna run the virtual on. We're gonna create a new virtual machine here, and we're just gonna walk through the steps. We'll do a DT test, DC01. That's not how you spell test, but oh well. We're gonna make this generation 2 because I'm gonna be installing an OS over Server 2008. Server 2008 was generation 1, but anything beyond that is generation 2. Anything 2012 or above. I'm going to be using Server 2019 for this, and we'll get to that step later. So we're just going to create a virtual hard drive here. I'm just running through the steps. Typically the easiest way is to install an operating system from the bootable image, and you just go and you click it there. But I'm going to show you the hard way in case you accidentally just go through this prompt. The easy way to get around that prompt, just go ahead and open up the settings, right-click settings. And we're going to click on our CSCI controller, and we're going to add a DVD drive. So we're going to go, oops, I didn't mean to remove, we're going to add, and we're going to mount an image file here. And this is where we're going to choose our Server 2019. You can grab those ISOs off Volume License Center. Really anywhere where your Microsoft licensing is should have them. I'm going to give some CPU cores as well to boot this guy up. One last thing, go to firmware, and we're going to move DVD drive to be our primary boot option. And at this point, if I go ahead and open this guy up, and hit start, and I need to get ready to spam a key because it's gonna pop up a prompt for a second and I missed it. the pressing the key to boot. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this guy off, and we'll turn this off, and we'll try this one more time here and hit the key this time. Perfect. So now I'll just go through the Windows Server installation wizard here, which I'm sure you guys have done this before. But I'll run through it real quick, just in case. Should only take a minute or so. And we'll just run through the prompt. Yes, install. You've already done this before to get to this point, I'm sure. Unless your server came pre-OEM installed. But we'll see here. Longest part waiting. There we go. We're going to use Windows 19 Standard Desktop Experience. We do want the desktop experience because we want the GUI. We're not just going to run this command line. We're going to run this a little higher resource need, but a lot easier to manage. We'll accept license terms. Click Next. We're going to do a custom install onto that hard drive, virtual hard drive that we created. And I'll get back with you guys once this has been installed. Looks like our server is up and running now, so I'm just going to go ahead and make a password to get logged in. Should only take a second. Probably will take a full second. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Let's Control-Alt-Delete. Get back in here. Log in this time. There we go. And we should now be able to add our DNS role and our ADCS role. So let's see. The first thing I'm going to do is set a static IP and just rename the server. Just best practice, get that done out of the way. So we'll see here. There we go. Just run a quick control. That's not how you spell control. I don't know how I mess up control that badly. And I'll just go ahead here and set a static IP address. Let's see. I'm going to disable IPv6 as well, just because IPv6 is not standard on an internal network, so it's going to be very rare that that exists. Default gateway here, just for my network here, and I'm just going to go ahead and get this set up to talk to itself, and then Google for DNS. And then I don't care about Windows Admin Center. The one thing I will do is I'm going to quick open up System Properties. Windows Key Pause Break opens up System Settings, and I'm going to give this guy a name of DT-test-DC01. Let's see here. Okay. Restart this later. I'm just going to go ahead right now and install the DNS role. As well as the ADCS role. I do have a static IP address, so we're just going to ignore that error. And we will run through the installation process right now. And I'll hit that because we need to restart it anyways. At the same time, we'll also, I don't need to check for updates now because I'm just going to reboot shortly, but always a good idea to update your new server. I'm just going to wait until this stuff's done. So I'll get back with you guys once everything has installed. Okay, and it looks like we're done. So I'm gonna I'm just gonna reboot this to get the DNS role ready to go. I'm just gonna do a command line shutdown /r/t0/f. That R is for a restart. That T space 0 is tells it not to wait, just to do it immediately. Wait 0 seconds. And the F is a force, so it's just gonna shut down any process that's currently active and just force the restart. Nothing fancy about doing it by command line. You can just hit the restart button. I just personally use the command line option just to have that F flag in there to force that shutdown. Sometimes just saves some time, makes things easier. So we'll go back ahead, send Control Delete now that we've rebooted, and we'll get logged in here. Real quick, this administrator password that you created there, that is going to be your domain administrative credentials if you're building a new domain controller here. If you're just adding this to a new forest, then that password is only going to be applicable until this is promoted to a domain controller. But that password will be your default domain administrator password since we're on the DC. If we're setting up a new zone, new forest, which is what I'm going to be doing here. So as soon as Server Manager loads, it's just got to collect inventory. Shouldn't take too terribly long, but as soon as this guy loads, we will be setting up Active Directory. The one thing I can probably do is open up Administrative Tools, and I can set up my DNS forwarders. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's just open file location. Now I'm just going to add a few items to the desktop here to make it easy to access. I'll add users and computers. I don't really need domains and trust. I'll add computer management, DNS event viewer, stuff like that. Just the stuff that I use all the time here. I'll add printer management if I want to deploy some printers. So this gives me some nice stuff to work with. I'm going to open up DNS real quick. Actually thinking about it, I'm going to enable remote desktop as well. So I just opened up, again, Windows key pause break on my keyboard, pulled this guy up, remote, allow, yes, okay. I'm going to go to my DNS here, and I'm going to go to properties on this DNS server, and I'm going to set my folders up here. So we're going to add Google, DNS.google. I'll add Cloudflare. That's not how you type, but I'll add Cloudflare as well. And that gives me some forwarders in case I can't resolve it. And what this means is if I cannot resolve what a DNS query is, it'll go and it'll ask Google and then Cloudflare. So it gives outbound redundancy there. This should be collected, and now we need to promote this guy to a domain controller. And here's where we have the option. If we already have a domain that's going on here, we could just add this guy to an existing domain. Easy peasy. It adds. You just need domain admin credentials, and you can add this guy to that domain that's already set up, and it's just very simple. Since there's not much going there, I'm not gonna really walk through that. I'm just gonna go through setting up a new one because adding one is very simple. You just click this, you select, and you hit next. You hit install. But we're gonna add a new forest. And we're going to add a dt.local. Is going to be my my domain name. My domain. We're going to hit next. Windows Server 2016 is the functional level. All my computers are Windows 10 that I'm going to throw on this domain. So Windows Server 2016 works for the functional level. If I needed to do some backwards compatibility, I'd need to drop my forest and then domain functional level. Your domain functional level can only be as high as your forest functional level. Your forest functional level can drop. If I drop this, then this guy can drop. But if I raise this guy has to be 16. We got to create a password, restore password here. So just create one that won't be forgotten. Get it documented. So we'll run through here. We can't connect to DNS, but that's fine. That error will show up every time, but it'll automatically just fix itself. So you don't even need to worry about that one. NetBIOS is pretty much depreciated, so we're just gonna hit continue anyways. DT works just fine for the NetBIOS name. And now we're going through 2 additional options. We're just gonna keep the main volumes the same, default, and we'll hit install. I guess we'll hit next, prereq check. I don't know why it can't do the prereq check before we go through the deployment, because there are times where there's one little stupid thing that's here. But we're good to go. Everything should be fine. We'll hit install. And this will install. Really shouldn't take too terribly long, but then it should have to reboot, and we will be a domain controller once we're done with that. Alright, we have rebooted. Now as a domain controller. We can tell it's domain controller because we have the other user option here. So again, like I said, if you were to make a new server, this would be a different password. Sorry, if you were to add this to a current domain, it would be a whatever that domain administrator password was. But since we created this as a new one, it was just that password that I created. So now we have this guy set up as a domain controller. It's a DNS server. The last couple things that we're going to do are just kind of simple, more cosmetic. Just make functionality a little easier. So we'll wait for Server Manager to open up, but we'll install a couple more little roles here. The other thing we'll do is we'll just take a peek in Active Directory users and computers for those who are unfamiliar with AD itself. Let's see. Since Server Manager, nope, it didn't load. Just kidding. We're still thinking. It's nice and slow after a reboot. Well, let's look at AD here. If we expand our domain, you can tell this is a domain OU because it has that icon. Everything else is a local OU, pretty much. OU's organizational unit. We can see we have our administrator account. Typically, what someone's going to do for business is just create a new OU. And we're just going to call it, I always uncheck this because it makes it very difficult to move. I'm going to call this domain users. And now at this point, this is where we can create some mappings. Let's say we have multiple offices and want to create different delegations for each office. Then we could just create one called main. That's how you spell main. Main. And then under that domain users, you know, we'll have that main, and then we can add our whatever, our users. You know, we can name them whatever we'd like to, and then we'll, you know, this is just your typical password creation, have a default password that forces them to change it next time. Stuff like that. You know, inside that user properties, we can add them as members of a group. They're just domain users. We can create some security groups if we wanted to. If you get into like radius authentication with NPS, which I can do a video on if you guys would like. Just comment down below if you need anything with 802.11x, or sorry, 802.1x. Radius authentication and stuff like that. And we can look at using AD with radius, and with 802.1x. Real quick, before we finish up this, let's just go and add a couple roles. We're gonna add DHCP, because we typically want our domain controller to do DHCP. We can have something else do it, but you know, it's safer to just make this guy do DHCP. We're also gonna add certificate certificate authority. Nothing else. We'll add a certification authority. We'll install. Shouldn't take long. We're also adding DHCP. Alright, so it looks like our roles have installed. Looks like I just have to configure them. There's really no reboots required. We're just gonna real quick give ourselves configure certificate authority. That's really the only thing that we are gonna do, is we're just gonna set up a CA, and we're gonna be an enterprise CA. So we're just gonna issue to domain devices. We're gonna be the root CA. We're just gonna create a new private key. And yeah, we'll just stick with the same generic ones here. Generic stuff, 5-year period, yeah, might as well. Cert log, confirmation, cool. And what this does is this pretty much just says that this will let us determine which computers are safe to talk to or not on the network. And that goes for domain joined computers. It'll be to where we can talk to them without getting certificate errors. So that's the goal here. DHCP, we're just going to authorize DHCP real quick, which we can do. Created the security groups, perfect. And so now everything's up and running as it should be. So let's just pop into admin tools one more time. I'm just going to right click one, go open file location. And then I'd like to get DHCP on here, and then let's just create a quick DHCP pool, DHCP server, in case you have not gotten that done before. So we're gonna go to IPv4. We'll go to we're gonna go to server options and configure server options, and here's where we can configure the router. So we want this to be our default gateway. Here's our default gateway. Yeah, we'll configure our domain name servers, and we'll do primary as 10.12.34.250, which is me. And we'll add a secondary as Google, just to have something as a secondary. So that's how that guy should work. Nope, sorry. Nope, that's name servers. I want to go to DNS servers, which is going to be 10.12.34.250 is the primary. And yeah, there we go. And then we'll add Google as secondary. And it's down by default. Okay. And then I'm looking for one more. DNS domain name. So we're just going to set this guy to be dt.local. That's really all I'm looking for here. At this point, we just need to add a scope. And main scope, we're just going to do it 10.12.34.50 through 10.12.34.199. Length is 24 for me. We're not going to do an exclusion. Least duration, we'll do 1 day. Next. Oh. Well, we already set these up, but it's fine. Parent domain, dt.local. We'll add Google as a secondary. And we don't need wins, and we'll activate the scope. At this point, yeah, we have our pools here, our leases, we have none, our scope options, we have all those guys in place. So everything is good to go. Server options I don't need, so I'm just going to get rid of those. Because it's our scope options. So everything is good to go here. Although I lost a default gateway, so let's just double check that I have a default gateway put in. I don't. Must have deleted that on accident. Okay, there we go. So we should be good to go. If we add a computer here, it will show up. Well, if I know how to type, add. Okay, there we go. It'll show up in our leases. Unfortunately, there's really nothing on this network right now. And there is a DHCP server running right now. So we're just gonna have some conflicting stuff. But for you, this is how it would work. And everything really is up and running with Active Directory at this point. At that point, you just go to computers and you'll just domain join them. You just walk up to the computer, Windows key pause break, or anything like that. We just click on change settings. We'll hit the change, and then we'll join it to a domain. So all you need to do on all the computers, they have to be a Windows Pro version, and they have to meet the we set this to work with 2016 server, which means it has to be a Windows 10 machine. You can't have any old devices connect to this domain. Is the force functional level. Anyways, that'll be it for creating a domain controller. I'll get into some radius authentication, some group policy pushes, some security groups and stuff like that at a later time. But at this point, you have your domain controller and it is up and functioning.